Hi, I am Dana K. White. I am the author of Organizing for the Rest of Us. And this is a clarification question from comments responding blah, blah, blah video that I do every once in a while. Because I know that simple, quick answers are not really the thing that those of us who really deeply struggle, like completely overwhelmed, need. Sometimes we need further clarification. So I do these every once in a while. All right, here we go. First one, what do you do with stuff that needs to be in a particular place, but that place is overflowing and there's no room? So this is a question I get a lot, but I answer it a lot because I know this feeling of my whole house is a disaster. How do I make progress in one place where everything that things need to go is its own decluttering project? The key there is that when you take it to the place, if you're following my decluttering strategy, you take it there now, remove just enough to create the space for this item that needs to go there, okay? You're not gonna add to that mess, but you are going to remove something. And remember, if you're saying that this space is overflowing, then it needs to be decluttered, right? Like it is its own decluttering project for the future. If it's overflowing, something needs to go eventually anyway, okay? It's not rearranging. There's too much in that space. So what is it? Ideally, it will be clutter, like you don't even have to think about it. It just needs to go. Or trash, and your trash bag and your donation box are back in the space that you were decluttering anyway, okay? So that's gonna take you back to that area. I did a video where I dealt with a really cool box that I was just like, I don't wanna throw this away, but what do I do so it doesn't turn into clutter in my house? So I had some questions on that. And several people were like, well, what about really cute bags? Or what about tins? Or what about, here's the thing, that process that I went through there of taking it there now, going ahead and using it, giving it a real space in my home, that's the same process that you would apply to every single thing in your home. The value of taking something there now is it causes me to be realistic about, is this item going to stay in my house? Because as long as I'm just setting it aside, then I'm not actually really having to act on that, okay? So this process that I used for that box, the process that I used for the dragon head in another video, that's the same process that you would use for every single item in your house. Go ahead, take it there right now. Put it in this place where you would look for it first. And doing that is going to force you into being realistic, okay, about whether or not it really does have a place in your house, whether or not it actually needs to stay in your house or not, okay? Along with that, with the dragon head. So I did a video with the dragon head. I'm gonna link it right here, maybe. I did a video with a dragon head that had been stored forever at my old house. It was in my attic, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a spot in this new house. And so I went ahead and took it there right now. I lived with it for a little while, and I was like, no. So I got rid of it because it didn't have an actual place to live in my home. Well, somebody asked the question. My thought is, if you wanted to keep it, what about your office? I'm in my new office now, and here's the key. You know, I talked about this in the gardening video. Defining the space, giving a definition to the room is so incredibly valuable, okay? So this is my office. The purpose of this space is for me to make YouTube videos, for me to write books, for me to record my podcasts, all of those things. That's the purpose of this space. So everything in here needs to contribute to that. That doesn't mean I can't have decor, that's fine, but it isn't a storage space. All right, because I have a definition for this, it isn't a storage space, because it is very tempting for the people like me who like cool stuff to say, well, I have room for it now, so I'm gonna go put it there. Except that when I do that, thinking, oh, well, I have this whole extra space now, I can just keep it, I'm just gonna go put it there, I'm gonna go put it in that space, then I start putting a lot of stuff in there, and it turns into a catch-all room. And a catch-all room doesn't actually serve a purpose. And I have decided I want this space to be my office. Therefore, these things I'm not going to store stuff in here. Okay. It makes sense. All right. And it's good because, because of going through that process, I realized I don't actually need this dragon head. It's not that I might not have grandkids someday who would think it was really cool, but going through that process made me realize, okay, I don't actually need it. All right. And then I was okay with it because I had tried to give it a place. And then when I realized it doesn't serve any purpose for me. It's not a decor thing that I actually want to have. I was okay with letting it go. Okay, I do want to be clear. There was a video here where I said something about, oh, I'm out in my office now, and so I don't have my makeup. So several people were like, oh my word, you're not wearing makeup? That's amazing. I was wearing makeup, y'all. I just didn't have time to touch up my makeup, okay? I want to be clear that Reed made me redo this video. And so anything I say that doesn't make sense, y'all have to know it made total sense in the other one where he felt like the audio was not good enough. And also I was much happier with my hair on that day, but whatever. Someone asked, this video, it's an older video where I was decluttering a container where things had just collected, okay? And I had gotten rid of some fasteners, which I called the hairy brads because they had hair on them and they were brads for things, anyway, whatever. Those fasteners didn't seem to belong to you. Is it really okay to decide where something goes if it belongs to someone else? Or how do you approach that without getting distracted? So there's kind of two questions here that I think are very valid questions. First of all, I am not deciding where something goes. I am asking myself the question, where would I look for this first? Okay? Because deciding where something goes lets me go, I say, where would I look for this first? The person who gets to decide or who gets to answer the question, where would I look for this first, is the person who would actually go looking for it, okay? Now, I'm not sure what I said back in that video. It's been forever. Maybe it was because my kids had gotten these items for a school project or whatever, that made it seem like they weren't mine to make that decision. But the person who goes looking for it, that's the person, who answers the question, where would I look for this first? Or the person who other people are going to ask, where are these? Okay, and I'm the person who they would ask, Mom, do we have any fasteners? Do we have any brads? Okay, so I get to make that decision. But this is a really important thing because I think you get it because you said, or how do you approach that without getting distracted? Well, in some cases where it is literally something that isn't mine, I will send a text to the person who I'm like, hey, where would you look for your blah, blah, blah first, okay? So I might send it to my husband and say, hey, where would you look for this first? And let him tell me that, and then I'll go ahead and take it there right now because I'm the one focusing on this space, okay? That's one way to do it. But another thing that I had to come to this realization was a real problem for me is I tend to look at a space that has clutter in it and think, I know there are things in there that are somebody else's, okay, where it's someone else who's going to have to answer that question, where would I look for this first, okay? And so my tendency is to be like, oh, well, I can't do anything in there because I know that stuff is actually someone else's stuff. Where in reality, because my goal is better and less, okay, that is how I get started. I get going. I say, I'm going to make this space better. I say, I'm just going to look for trash, like trash that anybody looking is going to say is trash, obvious, total trash. I'm going to look for that first. Okay. I am going to look for anything that's easy. Like we already have an established home for this item within our house. And I'm going to go take those things there. And then I'm going to deal with anything of mine that I can deal with. Because what generally / always happens is that even though I thought that is someone else's mess to deal with, oh, it's driving me crazy, what can I do when it's not my stuff? Generally just focusing on trash, easy stuff, and my part in that mess, the space is better, usually significantly better, just because I did that. So don't let this idea keep you from doing anything. Don't let this idea that it's somebody else's stuff in there keep you from doing anything. Make sense? Okay. So go ahead. The other thing too is work through it item by item. If there is something that legitimately is someone else's, skip that item and move to the next thing. Okay. Because what you don't want to do is nothing. You don't want to do nothing. Go ahead and do what you can do. And it's amazing how much your house overall will start to improve. And just to be clear, I'm saying this as the person who used to look at a space and think, oh, for these reasons, I can't deal with that right now. I don't have time to finish it completely. It's not all my stuff to decide about, blah, blah, blah. When I would look at a mess and think those things and not do anything, my house stayed a disaster. When I said, okay, what is it that I can do in this space? And then went ahead and did, even if it was nowhere near finished, went ahead and just did what I could do. That's when my house started to really change. Like my house, huge difference. when I changed that mindset of like, okay, what can I do? Even though there's parts of it that I can't do. Make sense? Okay, here's a good one. Back on the box issue. I can't think of what to do with the box. I promise I will know when I declutter my house. Well, dealing with the box is part of decluttering with the house. It's okay to skip the box and move to something else, okay, as long as you are actively decluttering. But I will say this, okay, taking it there now to where you would look first, even if you don't know why or how you would use the box, say, where would I look for this box first when I had a use for a box like this? Where would I look first? Taking it there now, just that action is going to make your house better. It's going to move you down this path of decluttering your house where you feel like you'll have more, knowledge and understanding and ability to deal with stuff at that point in the future when you get there. But ask yourself, where would I look first for a box that's cool? And then take it there now and acknowledge the realities of that space. Because as long as it's just laying around, you're not moving toward that goal of your house being decluttered so then you can handle it, okay? The way you get there is by saying, where would I look for a random, really cool box and taking it there now, okay? All right, here's one. This is on the video. I think somebody said point toward the side with your ring hand. I don't know. Anyway, because I always point the wrong direction. We'll see. Here's a good question. And this is on the video where I demonstrated my 5-step decluttering process, okay? I took you through, this is a cluttered cabinet. I'm working through the 5 steps. Here's where we are at the end of this space being decluttered, okay? This question on that. This is very similar to how I think about stuff when I'm decluttering. I usually keep a small bin to put the stuff in that goes to another room and then put it away at the same time. Do you think that is legit? Here's what I'm gonna say. If that works for you, it's absolutely legit. Like however it works well for you, however you are making progress in your home and really, truly being successful, that's what you should do. Like don't switch to my method if you're already good at this, if you already know how to do it. But if you tend to get frustrated because every time I try to declutter, I end up having to stop in the middle and then it's worse than it was before. Or if you find that you have lots of little boxes around your house of stuff that you did this with and you were going, oh yeah, I was gonna do stuff with this at the end of the project and then the end of the project never came and now it's just a box that has to be decluttered later. The take it there now strategy keeps that from happening, okay? So if you're watching my video because you're like, okay, I'm going to tweak this method because I'm already good at decluttering and okay, this is interesting. Keep doing what you're doing as long as you've been successful. But if you haven't been successful, if you find yourself consistently frustrated, try the take it there now method. Like I got an email from somebody recently, it cracked me up, and she was like, she'd watched the no keep box video and she was like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then it sounded like maybe she had watched the dragon head video or the really cool box video. And she was like, okay, I get it now. If I will take it there now, it forces me to actually make a real decision where it's so easy for me to have this box of stuff that I'm gonna put away later because that's so much more efficient. And I just put stuff in there, okay? But I'm not really confident that it actually, needs to be in that space, that it deserves to be in that space where I'm gonna take it. Or if I take it there now, it forces me to actually be realistic about what I'm dealing with. Okay, here's a great one. Somebody asked how I cook okra. Y'all, your mom might have a good okra recipe, but it's not as good as mine. Mine came from my mom. So I'm gonna put a link in the description to my okra recipe, how I do this. Y'all, it's the best thing ever. And hopefully I'll make a video at some point because hopefully I'll have okra and then I'll show you how I do it. And people are gonna be like, oh my word. Y'all, it's the best. I'm just telling you, my okra is the best. It's the best. Just a few questions and clarifications that have come up in previous videos. All right, I will talk to y'all next week.